FA Cup afternoons. Within, what, a couple of minutes of Shay Given going off, his replacement, Stephen Harper, is beaten by a flying header from Lee Bradbury. Gary Speed, the scorer for Newcastle. It's a pretty straightforward goal for Newcastle. Shearer's chest made it easy for Speed, even though it was on his wrong foot. Anderson's turn. Coming out by Moore. Some lighter relief for Newcastle, and a lighter relief for their captain as well, who hasn't scored at St James's Park since September. But the instincts, as you can see, are still sharp, and that is such an important goal. The delight of Kevin Keegan. Fulham are in front. Well, the truth, it's a goal they have been threatening in these early stages. Really well placed, almost like a pass into the corner of the net there. Horsfield, who laid it on for him. A neat little dummy there from Hayward, who had time to adjust his footing, adjust his balance, and was steered delightfully into the corner. Charlton. Smile from the Norwegian, and that owes so much to the persistence of Hassan Gatwood. He seemed to have lost his chance then. It was woeful defending in truth from Fulham. There certainly weren't short staff back there. But Oceanstad swung out a leg after the utter dismay of Max Taylor, the former Southampton man. He pulled off the victory for Everton, the one they needed so desperately. Really was a terrific effort, and Phillips had no chance. Perfection from Bakayoko. So by the full-time whistle, Everton will be cruising to victory. Unfortunately, there's more spectators on the pitch in celebration at the moment. Well, Bakayoko, it was set up for the left foot. He used the right. Phillips will be disappointed. And Everton now have staved off all prospects of any giant killing from the First Division strugglers.
Chelsea have joined the race for Steve McManaman.
I think he's a great player. I think that all the teams in England would like to sign a great player like Steve McManaman, but at the moment I think we haven't done anything because we are very concentrated on this season and we are very happy with our players, so it's still too early to talk about any discussion between Chelsea and McManaman, but in the future we'll know.
The word is Real Madrid are prepared to pay the Liverpool winger a staggering £100,000 a week when his contract expires in the summer. Chelsea, it seems, will be prepared to match that.
You would like it if possible? I would like great players, and he's one of the best players in England, so I'm interested.
The match exploded into life in first-half stoppage time. Controversy as referee Paul Durkin initially allowed this Dennis Wise effort to stand. Oldham were furious. No wonder. A clear handball by Celestine Babayaro. But as Durkin went to consult the linesman, he was struck by a sausage roll thrown from the crowd. The ref, though, wasn't hungry. The goal was disallowed and Babayaro booked. Seconds later, Oldham should have been in front. Steve Whitehall denied by the post. The luck was with Ed De Hoy, and Oldham's chance of an upset had gone.
I think they've done themselves proud, and you know, hopefully the fans went home. Okay, we lost the game, but they were satisfied with the display of the lads. You know, I thought that, especially first half, we made them look very ordinary, and we knocked them out of their stride.
But it was Vialli's day, the second 15 minutes from time, and Chelsea very much in the hunt for 3 trophies. Oldham now left to fight against relegation to the 3rd Division.
It was the Lions of Aston Villa versus the Tigers of Hull City, an FA Cup clash that spanned some 91 places between the top and bottom of the Football League, and a difference of some £30 million between the two teams assembled. That said, Hull played manfully in the first half, denying Villa chances and even giving them the odd scare. But on the stroke of half-time, Stan Collymore showed the difference in class, Steve Wilson having no chance. With one goal under their belts, Villa began the second half with more purpose, particularly Stan Collymore, this time setting up the second goal for Julian Joachim, who formed a nice partnership with Collymore in the absence of Dion Dublin, consequently paying back Stan the favour and setting up Villa's third and winning goal.
It's been a good day for us today. I'm very pleased to be in the next round of the Cup, and you know, all due credit to Stan Collymore and Julian Joachim for the way that they've provided the goals.
You're not disappointed with the effort, and you're not disappointed with the commitment, and even the way we played from time when we had the ball. It's just, you know, little mistakes, lack of concentration, lack of discipline, you know, has helped create our own downfall. That's cost us goals, really. So that's disappointing.
Villa the victors, but 6,000 Hull City fans watch their team give a very respectable performance.
Kevin Davies ended his Blackburn goal drought when these two met in the league, and he doubled his tally in the first of the weekend's all-Premiership Cup clashes. How he wishes he could play Charlton every week. And Rovers completed their revenge for Charlton knocking them out at Ewood 5 years ago. Jason Wilcox, who played that day, sending the Londoners to their 8th straight defeat. Blackburn 2, Charlton 0.
This, a chance to earn some money and just maybe cause an upset. It took 28 minutes for the dream to start to turn into a nightmare for Macclesfield. Steve Froggatt with the first for Coventry. Noel Whelan lost his marker to head in the second, and his 7th of the season. Froggatt's in great form just now, and Macclesfield had no answer to his trickery. Stephen Payne won't remember his first senior goal with much pleasure. Uncharitable Coventry didn't ease up. Darren Huckabee made it 4 on the hour. And he made it 5 not long after. Huckabee turned provider for George Boateng 2 minutes before the end. An FA Cup goal to add to his one in the Worthington Cup. And there was still time for Huckabee to claim the match ball. Not a very happy new year for Sammy McIlroy. And Macclesfield sunk 7 to Walsall in last year's competition. Coventry City 7, Macclesfield 0.
Martin O'Neill and Trevor Francis won the European Cup together 20 years ago, but it was O'Neill who celebrated the anniversary. Frank Sinclair, who won the Cup in '97 with Chelsea, won the ball from Peter Unlove, 1-0 to Leicester. Rob Olathorn was inspired by his defensive teammate. He may have needed 2 attempts. 2-0 was the inevitable outcome. Birmingham gave themselves hope when Paul Furlong played in Steve Robinson. But it was hope extinguished when Tony Cottee, who was on loan at Birmingham last season, beat former Leicester keeper Kevin Poole. Leicester haven't been beaten in 8 FA Cup ties at Filbert Street now. Steve Guppy made it 6 wins out of 6 against Birmingham in the competition. And even despite Dele Adebola's late consolation against the Foxes, Birmingham were completely outfoxed in more ways than one. Leicester City 4, Birmingham City 2.
With 3 wins in their previous 4 games, Plymouth probably fancied their chances of an upset, but Dion Burton had other ideas. 1-0 on the quarter hour. Dean Sturridge set up that first goal, and he was involved in the second too. Paul Watton pulled him down to give Stefano Iranio the chance to score his first FA Cup goal. It might have been 3 before it was. Paul Watton handled to concede another penalty. But this time, Iranio's spot kick didn't find the target, unless he was aiming for the post, of course. But 3 it eventually was. A second for Dion Burton, and a final score of Plymouth 0, Derby County 3.
The last time they met in the FA Cup was the '87 semi-final, but Watford's long wait for revenge over Spurs looked worthwhile. Luke Young's defensive clearance not one of his best. Richard Johnson the beneficiary inside the first minute. Spurs were embarrassed into action and responded immediately. Stefan Everson missed 5 weeks after breaking his jaw against Liverpool. The only jaws dropping on his return were in the Watford defence. Steve Palmer literally gave Tottenham a helping hand for number 2. Darren Anderton, a semi-finalist with Portsmouth, unflappable. And Anderton's cross created Spurs' third in the space of 9 minutes. Everson again on hand after Sol Campbell's knockdown. Watford were on the ropes but came out fighting. Peter Kennedy and the Hornets, for a time, heading in the right direction. But an extraordinary first half ended 4-2 when Watford failed to clear their lines, although few would have expected Alan Nielsen's finish to be quite so clinical. In comparison, the second half was an anticlimax, but Spurs completed the job through Rule Fox, just a little bit of time for him to pick his spot. Tottenham 5, Watford 2.
Manchester City thought they'd taken the lead thanks to Paul Dickoff's perfectly executed volley. But they hadn't, thanks to a linesman's flag. England under-21 international Carl Court hadn't scored all season until his goal at Leeds last Tuesday. His fine finish just after the hour mark was enough to see the Dons safely through to round 4. But unfortunately, that wasn't the end of the action at Selhurst Park. Court and Andy Morrison's tangle was caught by the camera, as well as by referee Graham Poll. It grew and grew and ended in red cards for both of them. And while Joe Royle rearranged his defence, Joe Kinnear had to cope without Court. And there was more. Wimbledon's Jason Ewell picked up a yellow card for a foul on Gerard Weekins. And then 5 minutes before the end, he picked up another. And he can have no complaints about this one. Wimbledon down to 9 men, but safely through. Wimbledon 1, Manchester City 0.
The sending-offs.
This was definitely not the start to 1999 that Nottingham Forest wanted. Steve Claridge's third goal in 2 games and 6th of the season knocked Dave Bassett's boys out of the FA Cup and left the home supporters calling for Harry's resignation. His assistant Mickey Adams confirmed that Bassett was resigned to a potsy weekend, but that's all. Meanwhile, Alan Ball praised his players and thanked the Pompey fans for their excellent support. Nottingham Forest 0, Portsmouth 1.